Hi, everybody. Welcome to our Rachel's Reviews. We are having another episode of our Hidden Gems podcast. And this week, we are going to be talking about another library streaming service called Hoopla. And it's going to be a lot of fun. I'm looking forward to it. And I'm joined, as every week, by my friend Ryan, who's here.
Hi, Rachel. So great to be with you once again. I am very much looking forward to talking about Hoopla, seeing what all the hoopla is about
Yeah, that's right.
Hoopla. And we're recording this on a Sunday night. This is weird.
Because
Like,
we usually record on Monday afternoons, but I just had, or sometimes Tuesdays, but I just had such a busy week coming up that you were kind enough to agree to Sunday night. Yeah, it does feel
because
kind of weird, doesn't it?
because one of us has a critic screening to a movie with Fat Russell Crowe.
So excited. Yeah, we actually get to go to a very small critic screening. By the time this airs, I will have been, and so yeah, we'll get to see Unhinged. But don't worry, it's going to be safe. Everything's going to be fine. I'm going to wear my mask. It'll be okay. And I'm really hoping it'll be fun. Hoping it'll be a good movie. It's very different than the movies that I'm going to be suggesting on today's show.
Yeah, and before we dive in, as someone who has worked in a movie theater for 3.5 years,
Yeah.
I already cleaned more metal and floors and seats than one man should ever have to. So if those theaters are not like cleaner now than when we left them back in like March,
Yeah.
I'll see that as a failure, like on
Right.
movie theater chains. So, like, you had 6 months to finally remove the congealed
Yeah.
nachos from underneath that one seat in your big
Yeah.
theater, and you didn't do it. Like procrastination much.
Yeah, I'm pretty confident that I haven't been to this particular theater that the screening will be at since the last screening of My Spy in March. But I'm confident that it will be very, very, very clean. And I don't think it's going to, they only invited a few people. And so I think it'll be a small group. Because usually the morning screenings are for critics are small anyway. So I would be surprised if there's more than a dozen people there. So it'll be safe. And I look forward to seeing how unhinged we get.
Yeah, I'm keeping my fingers crossed that that theaters show Unhinged close to me, because it looks interesting, number
Yeah.
one. But number
Yeah.
two, I learned that the theater at least closest to me, it's still a bit of a drive, but it looks like, barring another COVID wave, which, given
Mm-hmm.
mask wearing and cleaning is going like up through the roof,
Mm-hmm.
I have no reason to doubt this. But the theater closest to me will be opening September 3rd, which is just in
Ah!
time for Tenet, which, like, I'm thanking God every day for that, because
Oh my
Christopher Nolan
gosh.
movies are not meant to be seen literally anywhere else but on the biggest screen
Yeah.
possible. Quality aside, he makes big movies for big screens.
Yeah. Oh, that's so good. That's so exciting. That's great. All right. Well, let's talk about Hoopla. So we talked about Kanopy last week, and Kanopy, very similar to Hoopla. They're both streaming services that work with your library. Did you notice any big differences between Hoopla and Kanopy?
I think with Kanopy, I think the biggest difference was that Kanopy, like we discussed, it was more of like based around the smaller movies that
Mm-hmm.
you always hear about, but you never really get a chance to see. But with Hoopla, it's more of like you'll get like big movies that everybody has seen. Like, I remember like looking through all the categories, and I found No Country for Old Men on there,
Mm-hmm.
and I was like, wow, everyone's seen that.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's geared more towards like the general. I don't want to say like the general
More
audience.
mainstream.
Thank you. I don't
Yeah.
want to sound clinical or anything, but Canopy is geared more towards the art house crowd,
Mm-hmm.
and Hoopla is geared more towards the average Joe.
Yeah, I think that is true. They have, a lot of things like, say, Zoolander, They have, so there's some, pretty mainstream comedies. What We Do in the Shadows, um, Charlotte's Web, Almost Famous. So I mean, there's pretty mainstream kind of films, and I think Hallmarkies will love Hoopla. There are a lot of romantic comedies in here, and they have a lot of, particularly I noticed more Lifetime, and it's not as much Hallmark movies, but there's a ton of Lifetime movies on here, and there's a ton of other stations, other networks, rom-coms on here. So, and then just a number of rom-coms in general. And so it should be a pretty popular one, but they have Moonlight on here. So there are some smaller films, but a lot of rom-coms on here, so I'm a fan of.
A potential pick of mine that just barely made it to the cutting room floor
Yeah.
was the Lasse Hallström film What's Eating Gilbert Grape, with a
Mm,
very young Johnny Depp, an extremely young Leonardo DiCaprio,
yeah.
Mary Steenburgen, and a bunch of others. I saw it in high school, and I was like, should I put that on there? But then I saw my second choice, and I was like, okay, it's on the floor.
Yeah. Well, and also Hoopla, it's a regular library app too, where you can get your books and your other things reserved on Hoopla. But they just have a movie section. So that's something to keep in mind as well. So
Yeah.
yeah.
I want to give a quick shout out to Hoopla because I've read a lot of the comics that I've read thanks to Hoopla. I read the
Oh,
entirety
yeah.
of Scott Snyder and Greg Capullo's run on Batman that just ended 2 or 3 years ago. That was excellent. Superman Birthright, Superman the Man of Steel, all of Kick-Ass from Mark Waid, all of Scott Pilgrim versus the World from Brian Lee O'Malley, bunch of Wonder Woman stuff because I was reading it in preparation for the Wonder Woman movie that we got in 2017. So
Oh, yeah.
I do want to give a shout out because Hoopla is definitely it's like Kanopy. It's the best streaming service you never heard of.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like with these two weeks, it's almost more the streaming services, the hidden gem, almost more than anything else for as far as this podcast goes.
Right, and
Yeah.
it's something that nothing would actively look for, but it just, or
Yeah.
not look for just randomly, but
You kind
like
of have to
I feel
be.
like we're bringing attention to
Yeah.
something that, at least for me, for Hoopla, like it's a service that I've always like revered, but I was
Hmm.
like, no one's gonna know what this is.
Yeah.
But now we have a platform where we can bring attention to
Yeah.
it. So we are speaking truth to power, I
That's
guess.
right. And it's free. And when you borrow, they call it borrowing a movie, you get to watch it for 3 days. And I don't think that Hoopla has a number of you can borrow five. It's five. You can borrow five titles in a month. And I think with Canopy you can do seven. But you can do five.
It's 10.
Oh, 10. Sorry, 10. And then you get it for 3 days when you borrow it with Hoopla. So pretty good. Free 99, my favorite price.
Everybody loves that price.
That's right. Well, why don't you tell us your first choice that you recommend?
So my first choice, and this is I'm going a little bit all over the map on this one, Rachel. It seems like you picked mostly like rom-coms and
I
stuff.
did.
I definitely pulled a bit of a mixed bag.
All
My
right.
first choice is a movie from 1974. It's a movie that I've seen several times, and it's called The Taking of Pelham 123. This was directed by Joseph Sargent, who directed the disaster piece Jaws: The Revenge, which involves a shark being able to swim from the New England area to the Bahamas, and also stars Michael Caine, but don't think too much about it. And also gave us the classic Roger Ebert line, "His shirt is dry." But anyway, side road. The Taking of Pelham 123 is about a group of thieves who hijack a subway car in New York City, specifically the Pelham 123 train. It's a lot of people going home from their 9 to 5 jobs, so it's pretty populated. And the thieves are led by Robert Shaw, who is, of course, most famously Quint from Jaws. And the person trying to negotiate a way out of this is a man named Garber, who is played by Walter Matthau, one half of The Odd Couple. It's this is just it. I think this movie is really really great. It's got a lot of actors that you would recognize their face but would never know their name, with the exception of Matthau and Shaw. You got guys like Hector Elizondo, who has had a long and lengthy career. He's most recently been on Tim Allen's TV show Last Man Standing, but he was also Barney in Pretty Woman, which I'm sure, Rachel, you know about, right?
Mm. Well, he was in all of those Gary Marshall movies.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
of course, and there's Martin Balsam, who was in Psycho and 12 Angry Men. He was one of those, oh, he's in that, but you would never know his name.
Mm-hmm.
Earl Hindman is in there, who was the guy from Home Improvement who never showed his face. I'm blanking on his name.
Oh yeah, the what is his Ed
Wilson.
Wilson?
Wilson.
Yeah, Wilson. That's right. That's right. That's cool. I've heard of it. I remember when the remake came out, people were talking about it, and I
Yeah,
people
the
like
remake
the remake.
is the remake is okay. It's mostly a vehicle for John Travolta to chew the subway advertisements. Like he
Mm-hmm.
goes on and on about having like $300 million in like a penny or something like that, and he was like, "You better have that damn penny." I'm like, Travolta, priorities. Like it's just a penny. Like come on now. But this is
Yeah.
definitely the 1974 version is the far superior version. It's got great acting across the board. There's more than a few tense scenes, especially with one character who throughout the movie is suffering from cancer. So there's a special tension between not only the thieves but also how are the transit authority going to save the people. It's like I said, it's got a great cast.
Mm.
One name I also forgot to mention was the late Jerry Stiller, who may he rest in peace. He passed away recently. So yeah, Taking a Pelham 123 is definitely a movie I think a lot of people should see, or a lot more people should see.
Cool. Would you compare it to like Speed, maybe?
No, they're
No,
two
not at all.
completely
Okay.
different beasts because the subway is not moving. Like it's stuck there, and they're in a
Oh.
tunnel. No one can really get to them, and the only way that Garber, the Walter Matthau character, and Shaw, the Shaw character, who's under a code name of Blue, the only way that they can communicate is through the subway telephone system that they have and radios and
Mm.
stuff. So, like Speed, the whole premise of Speed is they can't go above 50
Right.
miles an hour, or else the bus will explode. But in the case of Pelham 123, subway's not going anywhere. So it's just a powder keg, just waiting to explode.
Mm-hmm. Cool. Great. All right. Well, yeah, hard left for my first pick. We're talking about. I tried to pick what I think are pretty underrated rom coms for my 5 picks romances, I'm start with a musical called Flower Drum Song, and this is a written by Rodgers and Hammerstein, and I think it's very underrated. And it's about this woman who lives in Chinatown. She's from Hong Kong, and she's planning on marrying this guy. But when she gets over here, he's already kind of attached to another woman. And probably the most famous song is "I Enjoy Being a Girl." It's probably the most famous song from the show. But it's got mostly Asian cast, which would be very unusual in 1961. And I don't know, I just think it's charming. It's fun. It's got a few things that definitely don't hold up as far as the representation and things, but it's pretty unique for that time period. And I don't know, I just think I think it just that people really enjoyed. If you like things like Bye Bye Birdie or the other Rodgers and Hammerstein musicals, I think you'll enjoy it, and so people should give it a shot.
Yeah, as a musical theater kid growing up, I'm a big Rodgers and Hammerstein fan.
Mm,
Like I love Oklahoma. I love the Music Man, and Flower Drum Song was one that I'd always heard of. And
yeah.
when you said I enjoy being a girl, I'm like, oh, because I got memories of when I was in middle school. We did like one of those songs where it's like a bunch of other songs like smashed into like
Oh
10 or
yeah.
so measures. And the I enjoy being a girl one was like right smack dab in the middle, and the next one was I'm just a girl who can't say no.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm in a terrible fix
That's
from
right.
Oklahoma, and
Right.
and and I was like, oh, that's where that's from. So I've never seen the movie though. I've seen the movie version of Oklahoma, which is great. I've seen The Music Man, which is great as
Hmm.
well. So I'll
Yeah.
definitely have to look up at Flower Drum Song just to complete the unofficial
Yeah.
Rodgers and Hammerstein trilogy.
Yeah, exactly. And I really like Nancy Kwan as the lead. She plays Linda. And like I said, it has a full Asian cast and they're really fun and so yeah, I think it's worth a watch, I think. I'd say it's a little underrated musical. So
Yeah. They
what do
were
you,
they were doing Crazy Rich Asians before Crazy Rich Asians.
that's right. That's right. That's right. So what is your next pick?
So my next pick is a bit of a it's a bit of a it's a bit of a departure from the Taking of Pelham 123.
Hmm.
It's from 1987 and it's called Baby Boom. This was directed by Charles Shire, who is most known as a screenwriter. He wrote the screenplay for Private Benjamin, Goldie Hawn movie that I really enjoy, both of the Father of the Bride movies with Steve Martin, and the first Smokey and the Bandit. So he's got quite a range there. And it was written by Nancy Myers. Rachel, I know you're a big fan of hers.
Hmm.
And the movie stars Diane Keaton as a businesswoman named J.C. Wyatt. She's a severe workaholic. Like her job is just like the only thing that matters to her. Only except maybe her boyfriend, played by Harold Ramis. We all know who he is. Like wrote Ghostbusters and directed Groundhog Day and just one of the goats in terms of comedy writing and directing. Well, in one day when she's on her way to a lunch meeting, she inherits a baby from a very distant relative. And this just turns her entire world upside down. And through a series of crazy events, she ends up growing to love this baby and she ends up striving out to create a business of her own. I won't go into specific details, but she goes from like New York City to like rural Pennsylvania. It makes sense in the movie, I
Hmm.
promise. Uh, I've always enjoyed this movie. I've seen it several times since I was like the age where it really wasn't popular for kids my age to watch these movies, but it's one of my mom's favorites, and I just gravitated towards it. Diane Keaton is the main star. She's awesome in anything she's in. Sam Shepard, who was the guy that broke the sound barrier. Chuck Yeager
Yeah.
in The Right Stuff, and he's been in a ton of other movies. Of course, the aforementioned Harold Ramis, and James Spader is in there somewhere. I can't remember what role he does play, but I think
Oh.
he's Ken. Yeah, he's the I just remembered. He's the guy who takes over JC's position. Yeah,
Oh, okay.
and
Yeah.
and this movie admittedly does have a couple of jokes where you're like, "Oh no, she doesn't know how to take care of a baby." Womp womp. Like one of the most obvious ones is when they make the baby this plate of spaghetti and she flings it all over the kitchen, and there and and Diane Keaton and Harold Ramis are cleaning it up, and then she sprays some of the cleaning spray onto the baby, and I'm just like, "Oh wow, like that's totally not sanitary at all." But outside of that, there is a lot of good stuff in there. Keaton has great chemistry with Sam Shepard when he comes in. There's a lot of great moments, and there's a lot of wholesome stuff in there as well. So definitely a good pick for the whole family, I'd say.
Mhm. Yeah, I think so too. I really enjoy this film. I think it captures definitely sort of feminism in the late 1980s, early 90s. The kind of the idea of that women could have it all uh, is definitely there. With it kind of reminds me of like a Claire Huxtable type of character, her character, and there's some funny scenes like the she goes to get she thinks that Sam Shepard's character is like a regular doctor, but it turns out he's like
He's
a,
a
a
veterinarian.
veterinarian for like horses and stuff, and so that whole scene is pretty funny, and her whole gourmet baby food idea is it's such a sort of creature of that time, that moment, I think, and the way that's all done. It's charming. It's really cute, and the only thing that annoys me a little bit about the movie is I think the score is so loud, and it's very like precocious, so that I don't know. Sometimes I'm just like, stop it, stop telling that. Like I don't know. Sometimes it irritates me a little bit, but other than that,
Da, da, da,
yeah,
da, 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 da,
right,
da.
too loud.
Lum, lum, dun, 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 dun.
Yeah. But other than that, that's a nitpick. It's very enjoyable, and I would say I think I liked Nancy Meyers almost better in some of her earlier stuff than some of her recent stuff. I think if people like her recent stuff, you should definitely give this one a shot because it's a lot of fun. So very good pick, and Diane Keaton's really good in it. All right, so my next pick is called Straight Talk, and this is a movie starring Dolly Parton, who's the best. I love Dolly, and this one it didn't get that good of reviews when it came out. It wasn't as well liked as 9 to 5 or Still Magnolias or some of her other roles. But I like it. I think it's cute. It's about she plays this woman who kind of by accident ends up hosting this talk show on a radio talk show where she's giving advice on love and life and things like that. And she's just like very frank and very honest, and people will really like her. Well, she sort of lies and says that she's a doctor. I think they even call her they call her show the doctor. I forget, but anyway, I think it's even in her show. And so James Woods plays this reporter who starts like doing digging, but as he's like doing this digging on her, they start to fall in love, and so of course there's going to be a big reveal when he figures out she's not really a doctor, and then, oh, you've been snooping on me and whatever. But it's just, I just love Dolly, and I think it's a cute little rom-com that I would say is a little underrated.
Yeah, I'm a big James Woods fan. I loved him as Hades in Hercules, and
Mm-hmm.
I he was a great a-hole senator in Contact. I know you're not a big fan of Contact, but I
Mm-hmm.
thought he was well cast in that
Yeah.
movie. And I'm not a humongous Dolly Parton fan. I have nothing against her personally. I She was in a movie I saw called 9 to 5 recently,
Yep.
which I did enjoy her in that. So I'm starting to
Yeah.
come around.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think she is an amazing human, very talented songwriter, it's just really cool, like what she's done for, like building Dollywood. She built so that she could help people have jobs, the Appalachian, and in where, she built it so that people could have jobs in that part of the world, and she has this really amazing literacy initiative where uh, she gives thousands and thousands of books to kids every year, to libraries, and I don't know, she's just a super cool person. And then not only that, but she can be a decent actress in the right roles. So she hasn't done that many movies, but I think most of hers have been fun. So this one I think is just a solid little rom-com. What do you have next?
So my third choice is it's a concert, and the official title of it is called Les Miserables in Concert, the 25th Anniversary. This was a concert. From 2010, it was this big deal to celebrate Les Mis' 25th anniversary. It took place in the O2 in London, which is like their Madison Square Garden. It's a big arena. And for just like 2.5 hours, it's just people standing in front of microphones and singing the songs of Les Miserables. I'm a big Les Mis fan. It's one of my favorites. I loved the 2012 version, even though there's a lot of people that don't like it. I mean, with the exception of like I get why people don't like it, but at the same time, like the movie makes me cry every single time with
Mm-hmm.
the ending, and I won't go too deep into it because I'll make myself cry. So that's another matter for another time. But in terms of this concert, I think it was very well done. Some of the voices here are a gentleman named Norm Lewis, who was most recently in *The Five Bloods* from Spike Lee. He was the Eddie character. Uh, Lea Salonga plays Fontaine, or I'm probably butchered that, and I do
Mm-hmm.
apologize. But Lea Salonga is most famous for being Mulan in Mulan, not the upcoming remake, the original animated version,
Mm-hmm.
and Jasmine in Aladdin. So she's got a pretty tenured resume there. Uh, Samantha Barks is Eponine, who was Eponine in the 2012 version, and Nick Jonas plays Marius. And I'm a big Jonas Brothers fan, and I'm not ashamed to admit that. So when I first saw this movie and I saw Nick Jonas, I'm like, "That's Nick Jonas! Like, where are Kevin and Joe?" But this is just this was just made for me.
Yeah.
I'm a big Les Mis fan, like I said. It's a beautiful concert. Like the people involved just sing their hearts out, and they add so much by just standing there and just singing the songs. And there's a special encore bonus. I won't give too much of it away, but it involves a lot of the past and a lot of former actors from the initial Broadway run. That's about as far as I'll go.
Yeah.
I won't go any further than that. Just go watch it because it's
Yeah.
goosebumps. It's literal goosebumps.
Yeah, I'm with you 100% on this one. I absolutely love Les Mis. It was really one of aside from the Little Mermaid, it was really the first music that I ever really fell in love with, and I knew every line to every song when I was in high school, and I got to see it when I was a freshman in high school, see the show, and I just absolutely loved it. I love the whole message of the show about mercy and forgiveness, and it's so touching. And I love all of the songs. The Thenardier is maybe not my favorite, but they can be funny depending on how they're done. But yeah, this concert is so great, and I mean, I fell in love with Les Mis from watching the 10th anniversary concert, and so I absolutely loved that. And then this with the ending, with the incredible performances, it's just I absolutely love it. I'm with you on the movie. I get its flaws, but I still really enjoy it, and I just love Les Mis. It's almost hard to do wrong. I've seen it done by high school students. I've seen it done. I was on Broadway 3 times. I've seen it. It's just it really is hard to mess up, in my opinion. It's just such a great story, and it's such beautiful songs.
Yeah, it hits you with it hits you with the message like just
Yeah,
immediately in the beginning
yeah,
when Jean Valjean steals all the gold from the church and they drag him back and he's like, "Father, he stole all your silver," and the priest is like, "No, I gave this to him."
yeah.
"But my friend, you left so early." Surely something slipped your mind. Should you leave the best behind? And gives him the
Yeah.
candlesticks, and then
Oh,
tells the police officers, "Thank you for your duty," and then just tells them that he has bought his soul for God. And like, damn, that's
yeah. Oh,
look
that's
that
so
right to
good.
my veins.
Yeah. And like there's a lot of quiet moments that are, I mean, everybody knows I dream to dream and that's incredible. But and Leah Slong's incredible in that. I mean, I absolutely adore her. And but like I also love Little Fall of Rain. I
Oh yeah,
love that song.
that's a good one.
Such a good song. I also love I mean it's so sad, but Empty Chairs and Empty Tables is
Empty
just
chairs and empty table. Or
it's
that's not
so
the
good.
melody at all. I'm sure everyone gets my. It's the thought that counts.
Yeah. I love that. And my friends, don't ask me what your sacrifice was for. Yeah, it's I mean, we could do a whole podcast, and we probably should on Les Mis now that I know you're a super fan. Like I,
Yeah, yeah. Let's do it. Let's do it
and I
when
promise
let's
we
do it
won't
sometime.
sing the whole time.
I mean, I could probably do all the songs, and you can just jump in whenever.
Yeah.
I think I'm a pretty good singer.
Yeah, it sounds good. A very good pick. All right. Well, my next pick is a drama, so it's my one non-romantic comedy. But it is the prize winner of Defiance, Ohio, and this is based on a memoir written by a woman named Terry Ryan that about her mother, and it was a big book club book. I don't know, back in like it was back in like 2000 or whatever, and then they got made into the movie 2002 2003, and it I read it in book clubs, several book clubs actually. It was a big popular choice over there, and it's a charming book, and the movie is pretty good with Julianne Moore playing this woman with 10 kids that her husband is a piece of work. He's not great. Woody played by Woody Harrelson, and Woody Harrelson can definitely play the drunk, angry guy pretty well. I think.
Yeah, he operates. He's like Oliver Platt. Like whenever you need like a piece of work guy, you call either
Yeah,
one of those two.
that's right. Yeah, that's right. And so Julianne Moore, she has these 10 kids, and she enters all of these jingle writing contests, and she just figures out how to make a living off of writing these jingles. And so she wins all these different prizes, and it's just kind of about her life, and it has Laura Dern. She's in it, who's always great, and it's just a sweet tribute to a mom, family drama, and so I think if certainly I would recommend the book's a lot better than the movie, but it's still I think worth a watch.
Yeah, this is a bit of a funny story attached to this movie. I was in the library like 2 years ago, and I was like looking through the shelves, and at least in my library, there's like a shelf off to the side where they keep new releases,
Mm-hmm.
and on that shelf was the prize winner of Defiance, Ohio, and I picked it up, and I was like, "This looks interesting," and then I read it, and I'm like, maybe not, and I put it back. So
Oh,
I kind of regret that I did, because now that actually sounds quite interesting.
yeah. I mean, I really like stories like the cheaper by the dozen novel. I mean, well, it's like a memoir. Not the. It's totally different than the movie though. The Steve Martin movie. That's only cheaper by the dozen in name only. But I love the book, and I really like. I remember Mama, which is they made a really sweet movie with Irene Dunn off of. I love just little portraits of family life and strong women and mothers, and so it's something I really enjoy. So I think it's definitely worth a watch. Strong performances, and yeah, she raises 10 kids off of these jingles, and it's kind of a thing of the past. Now it's just sweepstakes, and most of these kinds of giveaways and stuff don't require any kind of skill, any kind of talent involved. It's just you just get lucky. So
It's like being a jingle writer was like being a YouTuber back then.
yeah, I think that's a fair comparison. I do. So what do you have next?
So we're going to be taking a hard right away from women entering jingle contests and supporting 10 kids, because my next pick is a movie called Ex-Machina. This was written and directed by Alex Garland, who would go on to direct my second favorite movie of 2018, called Annihilation, and he also wrote the screenplay for 28 Days Later, and he's currently working on a show called Devs, which I have not seen, but I have heard good things. Oh, and he also wrote the screenplay for Dread from 2013, which is so good. But in terms of Ex Machina, it's about a computer program who works at Facebook for all intents and purposes. They name it a different name, but it's like either Google or Facebook, take your pick. And he wins this contest to spend like 2 weeks with the company's founder in like the middle of nowhere. Like it's grassy, there's like a waterfall and stuff, but outside of that, not a soul around. And it's just this programmer and this CEO. And the programmer has no idea why he is there until until the CEO takes him down to his basement, and they see a robot that the CEO has created in his spare time, I guess. And so the entire premise of the movie is they're going to subject this robot to the Turing test, which is, does this robot believe that she is human, or is she aware of her own consciousness?
Mm-hmm.
For some, this can be incredibly boring, but for me, I think it's great. It's very cerebral. It's an hour and 48 minutes. It can be a tad slow at times, but I think it's all worth it. It's shot beautifully. It's got Domhnall Gleeson in it, a guy that I love. Oscar Isaac is in there. This was my gateway drug into Oscar Isaac, and then he would go on to be in Star Wars, but let's not talk about that. Alicia Vikander is in there as the robot. She's great, and she's gone on to do bigger things. Like she was in the best video game movie ever made, Tomb Raider, I Will Die on That Hill, and she was also in Guy Ritchie's The Man from U.N.C.L.E., which is definitely underrated. So
she won an Oscar too.
For The Danish Girl, correct.
Yeah,
Thank you for pointing that out. I was just about to miss it. But I do say this just as not exactly a warning, but as a caveat. This movie's definitely not going to be for everyone. It's gonna be a bit of a slow burn, but if you're in the right state of mind, I do think it's a very interesting watch.
Yeah, I really enjoyed this movie. I mean, where else can you watch Oscar Isaac dance like that? I mean, come on. You
Maybe on SNL, but not in this context.
I don't think this movie is that slow. I mean, I don't know. I don't think of this as, it's not like Blade Runner or something like that where I'm like, I mean, I feel like it clips along like fairly well. But it builds the tension, and this relationship is getting stronger and stronger and stronger between Vikander and Domhnall, and the how do you feel about the ending? Do you like the ending without giving it away?
Yeah, super not giving anything away. I think it was a good choice. I think leaving it ambiguous like it was, because I think that's what Alex Garland is very good at. He leaves endings like that up to us, the viewer. He's kind of like Stanley Kubrick in that way, in that is the ending A or B, and the answer is probably going to be yes.
Yeah. I must say I was not a big fan of Annihilation. I was an outlier on that one, but I get why other people liked it. This I like way better. I just I don't know. It's just a fun little thriller, and so yeah, it's interesting. Good pick, and it is very stylish, beautifully made. It has really just all the production design, all of the things about it. It won Best Visual Effects, which is really unusual for a small movie like that to win visual effects. It's up against Marvel and things like that, and but that the way that they were able to make it just feel like her, uh, she was the robot so seamlessly.
Yeah, and I'm trying to find who did the visuals. Hang on. It's multiple people, but yeah, like when this won the Oscar for best visuals, I'm like, I didn't expect it, but I love
No, yeah, I
it
mean,
because Alicia Vikander is very much a robot, but she has no hair. All you really see is her face throughout the entire movie,
mhm,
and it's like there's not like an uncanny
yeah,
valley moment where you're like, oh,
yeah,
that's clearly an effect. It
yeah,
all integrates just perfectly, and so like gold star to that team. Like we should get them to do more stuff.
yeah. Yep, definitely agree. Well, my next pick is we're going back to the world of rom-coms. This is a rom-com that I think is very underrated, and that I think is very has a great cast. It's very well. It's called The Rewrite. And this came and went from theaters. Nobody noticed it except for me, I feel like. But I like the cast. I like the story. It's written and directed by Mark Lawrence, who's done a number of different rom-coms, including music and lyrics with Hugh Grant. And this one, Hugh Grant he plays this Oscar-winning screenwriter who is just failing to get anything off the ground. It starts out he's considering doing reality TV, and he kind of had his glory days, and he's not been able to repeat them. And so he ends up getting this job working at this school, being a professor of screenwriting, and he sees it as this huge downgrade. He's very embarrassed, and he just wants to do it long enough just to just why he can wait and write something else. He's not invested, but he gets up there, and he ends up having transformation. He starts out pretty reprehensible, actually, and then he has a growth through the course of the school year. And it has Allison Janney playing the English teacher who's obsessed with Jane Austen, and she's really funny and good. And I mean, there's a little bit of tongue in cheek there because Hugh Grant was in Jane Austen, was in Sense and Sensibility. You have J.K. Simmons, who is another teacher. He's in this, and he is just like in love with his family. Whenever he gets out, it's kind of a joke in the story that he can't not cry for as soon as he starts talking about his family. J.K. Simmons' character starts to cry, and they're like 1, 2, 3 out already. He can't talk, and I don't know. It's a really sweet movie. It tackles a lot about writing, a lot about movies, a lot about what motivates us in life, work. Also, Marissa Tomei, she plays a single mom who is going back to school, ends up taking his class, and so she's the obvious love interest. And I just think it's charming, and it's just one of those ones that flew under the radar, and everybody I've ever recommended to has liked it. So I think people should give it a shot.
Yeah, when I do inevitably watch this movie, I'm going to see J.K. Simmons cry, and I'm going to quote the line from Whiplash where he's like, "Oh, are you one of those single tear people?"
Yeah, that's
But
right.
when I was
I'm right.
reading the synopsis for this in preparation for this recording, I was sitting there like, wait a minute, this sounds a lot like music and lyrics. Come to find out, it's written and directed by the same guy. So
Yeah, and
that's not a knock. I just
yeah,
remember watching lyrics on just a complete lark and enjoying it. So
yeah.
it's starring and directed by and written by the same guy. So I guess there really is no reason why I wouldn't like it.
And Hugh Grant, he can play a role like this in his sleep. Like he knows how to do this kind of role. But I don't know. I just think there's a little bit of depth here about him kind of thinking about his life and uh he's because he's so known for this one thing that he did when he was young, and what is his life amounted to. And there's something there, I think, that has something, there's a little bit of weight to it. It's not just a fluffy rom-com, but also it does have quite a bit of discussion about writing and what makes a good character, what makes a good story. And I think that's worthwhile. So yeah, I really enjoy it. I think it's a good film, and people should check it out.
Anyway, so my final choice is a movie from 1997. It's one of like it's one of those movies that I think like it starred a lot of great people, but it like just because of the people in it and who is behind the camera, it's gone under the radar. And I want to start resurrecting it because my final choice is Copland. This was
Mm.
directed by James Mangold, who directed the best X-Men movie ever made in Logan, and of course Ford v Ferrari, which is awesome. It stars, and I'm going to read this cast list for you. Sylvester Stallone, Harvey Keitel, Ray Liotta, Robert De Niro, Peter Berg, who would go on to direct Lone Survivor and Deepwater Horizon and Patriots Day, which are all great. Robert Patrick, T2. Michael Rappaport's in here. Noah Emmerich's in here. He's still working. It's just like you go down the list, and it's just a who's who of just quality guys. And the movie tells the story of Sylvester Stallone. He's a sheriff in this small town outside of New York City where a lot of NYPD cops come to just relax and blow off steam. Well, without giving too much away, something happens, and Stallone character is like, are these people really my friends, or is there something else going on here? Uh, you can see a lot of James Mangold's, I guess, Mangold-isms in Copland from the very beginning. You would see them in Ford v Ferrari and Logan and a lot of other stuff. And it's really, really great. If you only know Sylvester Stallone for being like Rambo or Rocky, I do highly recommend that you do check it out because he does really, he has more nuance to him in this. And I read somewhere that he gained like 30 or 40 pounds to play this role. And considering how jacked he is and still is today, that's crazy. And of
Mm.
course, Ray Liotta's in there. He's great. Harvey Keitel, always awesome. Robert De Niro, we all know who he is. And just like I said, the cast list just goes on and on and on. And so I'll just leave it off with that because Copland it's just great.
Cool. I've heard of this. I remember. I feel like when it came out, people talking about it was a big shift for Stallone, for him to take this role and do it. And so that sounds really good. Well, my final choice is again a hard left from Copland, but I wanted to talk about it because, like I said, there's tons of Lifetime movies on the Hoopla app, and one of them, Twinkle All the Way. When this airs, it'll actually be tomorrow. It'll be on, or no, it'll be on Sunday, the 23rd. If you become a patron, you can actually join a watch along of Twinkle All the Way with the director and writer that are going to be present for the watch along. And Brian Herzlinger and Megan Herzlinger, and they're amazing. And so if you like these kind of movies and you want to support the podcast, my podcasting work, these are some of the perks that we can give you. We've done one of these watch-alongs every month for the last 4 months, and we've always had some kind of talent there with them. And because that's who I have access to is Hallmark talent. That's what we've ended up doing. But I'm totally open to doing other kinds of watch alongs. And anyway, so that's just exciting coming up on Sunday. And it's only $2 a month to participate in the Patreon. And then you can participate in the watch along at any donation. So that's the shameless plug for the Patreon. It really helps us out a lot and helps me out a lot. And so, Twinkle All the Way, I absolutely adore it. I think it is so sweet. It is it stars Sarah Drew, who I love. Sarah Drew from Grey's Anatomy, and Ryan McPartlin, who is on Chuck and Living with Fran and a bunch of other stuff. Anyway, so they play single parents who are put together to work on a school play for their kids. And he is kind of a Christmas event planner. He stages houses and lighting and stuff like that. And then she is a wedding planner, and she's working with her friend to plan the ultimate Christmas wedding. And now they're forced to kind of work together. And she's super detailed as far as all of her planning and having everything scheduled, and he's more relaxed and wants to be sort of a creative type. And of course they sort of butt heads at first, but they have really nice chemistry. And I really liked all the side characters. Leslie Ann Warren plays his mother. She's actually named Twinkle in the movie. And I don't know, it's just a sweet, charming Christmas movie. And I love these two actors so much. And there's actually when they end up having the wedding, it is so lovely. And I'm normally not a big wedding person when it comes to these movies because I don't like bridezillas. But it's not a bridezilla. It's like a community, it ends up being this like kind of community event, which was so charming and great. And I love it. I think it's so good. And so you can watch it on Hoopla, and then you can watch it on the watch along.
First of all, number one, subscribe to this woman on Patreon because she absolutely deserves it. And that was a wonderful hashtag shameless plug. I have taught you well, my young apprentice. Number two, we should do a watch along,
that'd be fun
for the hidden gems. Like we should, like on Netflix or HBO or whatever we want to do. Like we should do something like that. I think that would be fun.
That would be fun.
Number three, when you said the name Leslie Ann Warren when you were talking about this movie, I was like, why does that name sound so familiar? And then I looked her up. I'm like, oh, she was Miss Scarlet from Clue. And I'm like, it was like, oh, now I know what she's going to be like in this movie.
Yeah, and she was the original Cinderella in Roger and Hammerstein's Cinderella.
I was going to say she was animated. How was
that? And I don't know. It's such a charming movie, and they have like the little girls are so adorable. They both have little girls, and they have this whole time where they make forts, and then they drink hot cocoa under the fort. It's the cutest thing I've ever seen in my life. That's pretty much like life goals to me. I love making forts and drinking hot cocoa and being all cozy. That's
I'm like, wow, I want some of that now.
I know. So, and I love Sarah Drew, and I actually got to interview. Well, so I interviewed Brian Herzlinger last year, and he's so funny. He's so great, and his daughter clearly plays one of the little girls, and she is so cute. And anyway, he was able to get Sarah Drew and Ryan McPartlin to come on the call. So I had the three of them on, and it was so exciting. But I don't know. I just genuinely like the movie. It's not because of that I like the movie, but I just think it's if you like sweet Christmas movies, then you'll enjoy it.
Sweeter than that hot cocoa.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, obviously, I love sweet Christmas movies. So there we go. That is my last one. So let us know if you have seen any of these films. Talk about a variety. If you watched all 10 of these movies, that would be a really fun
I'd
Thank
like
you.
to. I'd like to hang out with you.
I know. Yeah. Uh, so let us know your thoughts on these movies. We would love to hear in the comment section or on Twitter. That would be great. And like I said, if you could support the Patreon, that would be amazing. We also have our merch store, which has tons of fun, particularly Hallmark inspired merch. So check that out, holiday inspired merch. So, Ryan, where can people find you?
They can find me on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and Letterboxd at RyanCam20. I've been posting more frequently on Letterboxd. I've watched a lot of movies over the past like 6 months because of world events, and I
Right.
never posted about them. Well, now I'm starting to kind of catch up. I'm nowhere close to finishing, so like now's a good time to follow me on Letterboxd and Twitter and all that, and just all my social media in general. And of course, there's my YouTube channel, Ryan Cam's Movie Reviews. Uh, Today is a Sunday, which means tomorrow, which is a Monday, hopefully, my review for Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs will be dropping.
Mm.
And then I'll also be talking about Annie Hall and the Bridge on the River Kwai. And then you got Treasure of the Sierra Madre, Best Years of Our Lives, Doctor Strangelove, just a lot of great stuff coming to the channel. Plus, I've got a bunch of other stuff in the works. I got a Halloween series coming up, not Halloween the movies, but Halloween just
Oh,
like
okay.
for the holiday. This is I won't give too much away here because a magician never gives up his secrets, but this Halloween is going to be my most ambitious video series ever on YouTube. So now is as good a time as ever to go ahead and subscribe. I'm at 106 subscribers, so
That's
just
great.
four of you and get me to 110. Like I don't think that's
Yes.
too much to ask.
Yes, subscribe, please, please subscribe. And yeah, and you can find me here at Rachel's Reviews all over social media, iTunes, YouTube, and on Rotten Tomatoes. So if you want to check out, you're going to see that Unhinged review coming up soon. Please check that out. And then also you can find me at the Hallmarkies podcast, which is so much fun. We have lots of really creative things happening, and I'm really excited about this week. I get to talk to journalist Filiana Negg, who is a senior editor over at ET. So I'm really excited to get to talk to her about these Summer Nights movies. So we have a lot of really fun stuff over at Hallmarkies podcast. And so check that out. And thanks so much. This is always so much fun. And let us know if there's a service like Hoopla or Kanopy or whatever that's a little more hidden that you think's worth us checking out and reviewing. We would love to hear your thoughts. And so thanks so much. And we'll talk to you all later. Bye, everyone.
Bye.